Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. I'm so glad you're here for another Dollar Store Saturday. This is where I take a bunch of dollar store items and make some beautiful high-end decor in a farmhouse style. I'm starting out with this oval wood cutout from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just giving it a coat of matte clear polyacrylic. I want the color to be a little bit deeper, and you can see it does get a little darker, but I didn't want to stain it. I'm using a combination of white and natural woods in this project. I made this decal using my Cricut Joy and the Cricut Design Space app, and I will have it available as a free printable. You just need to go down to my description box and click on the link Free Printables, and then you'll be able to search through all of the things I have available. Next, I'm going to be using these painter sticks and I'm going to make a crate. Now, if you've been following me on my channel, you know that I love to make wooden crates. I know you can get the ones from the Dollar Tree. I didn't have any of those on hand, and because Ontario, where I live, is on lockdown, we don't have access to any crafting supplies right now. So I've got to create my own stuff. I'm cutting 6-inch pieces, and what I do with these painter sticks, because they're fairly thick and hard, I score it a half a dozen times, and then I take my miter shears and squeeze one way, and then I flip it over and squeeze the other way because the bottom part makes a mark on the other side. So I keep flipping it and squeezing and flipping it, and eventually I get to the point where I can just give it a good squeeze and it'll pop. These three 6-inch pieces will be the front of the crate. This will be the inside, so I'm just holding them together with a piece of popsicle stick and some hot glue. I cut 6 more pieces. These were 2 inches in length, and those will become the sides of the crate. I'm just going to go ahead and glue all of the pieces together, and then I'm going to use some of the larger tumbling tower blocks as braces for the corners. I also needed a bottom for the crate, but here I just put 2 pieces in because I just needed something that was going to be able to hold the floral foam in. I had given this palette just a little bit of a touch up with white paint, and now that it's dry, I'm going to distress it with my favorite color, black. I love to do distressing with black. I don't know, the combination of white and black just makes me happy. Using hot glue, I'm going to apply the Flower Market sign to the top of the palette. I'm gluing 2 of the tumbling tower blocks to the back of the little crate because that's going to help me secure it onto the palette. Using a tiny little drill bit, I'm going to drill 3 holes about 1.5 inches apart, but in the same level on one side of the palette. I'm going to be placing these beautiful little tacks in the holes. I'm also going to be using some of my Weld Bond glue to make sure that they stay put. And these are going to be the little hooks for my little mini garden tools. The first 2 went through to the back, so I just put some hot glue on them to make sure no one gets hurt. Using a larger drill bit, I'm going to put a hole in the handle of each of the little tools so I can fit a piece of twine through, and that will become the hanger for them. These little mini garden tools were part of a houseplant garden set, and I got them at Dollarama for $2.50. I couldn't pass them up. They are absolutely adorable. Now it's time to get some greenery in my little flower box. I'm going to just place some hot glue in there and glue down some floral foam, and then I'm going to start working on adding some greenery. I wanted this to be more greens than florals, so I added a few different types of just greenery plants, and then I added a little bit of the baby's breath that you can get at the Dollar Tree just to add a little spice of color, but they're white, so I guess they're not really colorful, but I think it turned out pretty adorable. I love this sign and I hope you like it too. Oh, and I forgot to tell you that I also added another little decal to the little box, and I think that just added the perfect touch. Today's video is in collaboration with Tammy over at Llama's Creations DIY. Tammy is a super young channel, but she has some amazing crafts. You've got to go see her glue gun holder that she made, and some of her clay pot creations are absolutely adorable. Please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button when you go over there. Watch her videos, give her some support, and help her to grow her channel too. My second project is also using Dollarama supplies. This is a breadboard. It was $4, and you can see I've already done something to it, but I'm going to repurpose it for this one. I'm also using a couple of these sink sponge baskets because they're flat on the back, and I thought, how adorable is that? These would turn into some really cute planters. I'm just going to cut off these little nibs that are on the back. I don't need that, and that will just help me to lay it flat onto the board when I'm ready to glue them on. I just love using these scrapers. I got this one from a different dollar store, but I know Dollar Tree carries them and I think they're pink and black. I had a couple of those too. So I'm going to go ahead and just scrape off any of the excess hot glue. But then I started to also scrape off some of the white paint, and you can see here it's coming off really great. I can just do this instead of sanding, and it just helps me to keep the dust and everything all in one spot. So I'm not getting it everywhere. It's staying right here on the board. This is something I kind of fell upon, so I wanted to share it with you. If you don't want to do any sanding, just do some scraping. That works too. Since this was already painted brown and black, I'm going to do some white dry brushing. I'm starting off a little bit lighter, but then I'm going to get a little bit darker, mostly towards the center. I want the edges to still have some of that brown showing through. The store had white baskets and gray baskets, and I thought I would just use them white, but here I am spray painting them gray. I also sponged them with some dark gray metallic paint, which unfortunately I forgot to turn my camera on when I was doing that. I wanted them to have a little bit of a galvanized finish. I'm using some of this burlap ribbon that I picked up at Michael's, and I'm just going to line the inside of the basket with this and then fold it over a little bit so it goes over the rim. I made some slits in the ribbon and I also trimmed it down. It was a little too long. Now I'm going to just use some hot glue and fold over the little flaps so it looks like it's a little liner inside my little bucket. I'm just going to add some hot glue and then stick in a tiny little piece of floral foam. And the greenery I'm going to use for both of these buckets is going to be different, but it's going to be just green. I wanted this to look like it was a little herbal garden that could be hanging on the wall. So one of them is going to be parsley and the other one is going to be oregano. The top lip of the basket stuck out a little bit, so I'm putting some hot glue down and a piece of stir stick to make it be flush. This way I can just put the glue on the stir stick and glue it right onto the board. Using my Cricut again, I cut out the words parsley and oregano, and I'm just going to place those underneath each of the buckets. Adding a couple of extra finishing touches, I'm just wrapping some twine around the center underneath the word parsley, and I'm just going to crisscross them a little bit to give it more interest. I'm also going to wrap some twine on the very top of the board and tie a sweet little bow. This last project is using some of these tumbling tower blocks that I get at Dollarama. I'm going to just glue 4 of them together to create a square. I've got a piece of a bed that I took apart a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just going to use some hot glue and glue it right onto the tumbling tower blocks. Next, I'm using this little solar lantern. I think I've had this in my stash since last year. I'm going to just take it apart because I want to be able to just work with the base for now. I've taken some of these paint stir sticks and cut them down to size. What I want to do is glue them on the base of the lantern to make it look more chunky. I'm going to do the same thing to this plank from the Dollar Tree just to make it look like it's a block. You could use a piece of wood if you have it. I didn't have anything that was square at the moment, and I just did not feel like getting out my table saw. It makes a mess in the garage. Now that the box is complete, I'm going to glue in these tumbling tower blocks, one in each corner, just to give the box more stability. I'm going to glue the bedpost and the tumbling tower block combination right onto my faux block. I decided also to glue some tumbling tower blocks inside the base of the lantern so it would have more support too. As I was painting this white plastic lantern, it wasn't taking the paint very well. So I ended up having to wipe that off and give it a couple of coats of flat black spray paint, which was easier anyway and faster because I was able to get into all of those corners and nooks and crannies. The wood here on this one took the paint really well, and I was able to get away with just doing one coat even on the bed leg. So here at the bottom of the screen, you can see the lantern in black and the pedestal or candlestick or whatever you want to call it also painted. But I wanted to put a little handle because on the top of the lantern, there's two little loops where there used to be a plastic handle. I've taken a piece of wire and a couple of pieces of just some butcher twine, and I'm just going to be wrapping that around and making a handle. I'm going to slide the wire right into the little holes on the top of the lantern and tie everything off. I'm going to be using some white chalk paint and a dry brush to dry brush and distress the candlestick all over. The only part that I'm going to not distress is the lantern. I want that to stay solid black so it looks a little bit different. Then I simply glued both pieces together. To decorate the lantern, I'm going to be adding a little bit of moss. I'm just going to tear it apart and shove it in there. And I'm just going to use one little tiny succulent. I tried putting two in, but I didn't like the look of that. So I'm just going to drop one tiny little succulent in the center. I really hope you liked these garden decor DIYs today. It's part of my dollar store Saturday, and it was a lot of fun creating these. If you like what you saw, please give me a thumbs up and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, I'd love for you to stick around. Hit that subscribe button. That black arrow will show you exactly where to click. I really appreciate all of your support. Thanks a bunch to my viewers and subscribers. See you in the next one.